Today, I'm going to be sharing my 3 favorite hidden features on the new firmware 2.0 on the Nikon Z9. So the term fix it in firmware has been floating around the camera industry now ever since really it became a possibility to fix it in firmware. Several years ago, camera companies started shipping new firmware versions for their cameras, which would most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, just fix bugs or issues with the camera. Overheating issues, little things like that, or sometimes big things like that. But I think that in everyone's mind, camera companies could also add major features, and every once in a while you would get a huge feature added to a camera. Like for instance, Fujifilm several years ago added 4K to one of their cameras. It went from a 1080 camera to a 4K camera, and that was a huge deal. But the truth is, it's not all that often for one of the big 3 camera companies, Sony, Canon, and Nikon, to add huge features via firmware. That all changed with this new 2.0 firmware update for the Nikon Z9. Not only have there been some fixes for the Z9, but it has added huge new features. But the point of this video isn't to go over all the big new features that the Z9 added. Things like 8K 60, raw video recording, custom AF area modes, 120 frames per second viewfinder, which that one's the one that really blows my mind that they were able to change that via firmware. It kind of makes me think that some of these features were kind of supposed to ship with the camera and they had to delay it due to development issues. But irregardless, the fact that some of these things were added via firmware is a huge deal. But today I'm going to focus in on 3 smaller quality of life features that to me, I'm actually maybe the most excited about. These are also all going to be kind of focused on stills photography. I may do another one of these videos for the video features or small hidden video features down the road, but these 3 are kind of stills photography focused. I'm also going to show you how to set up these new features in your Z9 if you want to implement them. Okay, so this first one is kind of an extension to something that's already been in Nikon cameras since the Z7 II, and that's extended shutter speeds. So what that basically means is that you can now slow down your shutter clear to 15 minutes. So you can press the button and the shutter will stay open for 15 minutes. I really like doing super long exposures for some of my night landscapes. I either will exposure blend it with the stars or have it do just cool things with the stars. And this feature has been something I've really liked. What this little quality of life thing they've added though is now it will show you how much longer you have to wait on that 15-minute shutter. It's easy to press the shutter button and be like, well, I don't know where I am. I mean, you can track it on your watch or all these things, but being able to just quickly reference it and see where you are is super nice. And then also the inverse is true with bulb mode, is that if you press the shutter, it will tell you how long it's been open, so you can track it that way if you want. Really, the extended shutter speeds are better than bulb mode in my opinion. Bulb mode, you have to have a remote and all these things to really get that to work. So the only thing you really need to do in order to make this work is to turn on extended shutter speeds. And that's going to be in the D menu of the custom settings menu and going down to option 6. Extended shutter speeds, M, so that means it's only in manual mode, and you can turn that on or off. So for some reason, by default, Nikon has this turned off. I have no idea why. It's a super useful function. Like, it's just turning the camera down. I guess some people want access to bulb mode more, but anyway, you want to turn that on, and now on this top display, Now when you press the shutter button at extended shutter speeds on the top display, it will tell you how much longer you have to go. So it's just another reason. I could make a whole video on why the Z9 is the best night landscape camera ever made, and it's just another additional reason why that is. So another quality of life feature, this definitely falls under quality of life, is that you can now change the speed of the focus point selector as it moves across the display. I have always felt like Nikon has been majorly on the slow side with how fast the focus point selection moves across the screen. It's felt slow and sluggish, and like you can use the touch to focus feature, which is great when it's on a tripod or you're away from your face, but when you're using the viewfinder, you really want to use the thumbstick to control it, and it just has felt really slow. Well, now you can change that. Let's show you what normal looks like. You can see I have this metal print over here and Toby's desk, editing desk over there in the studio. You can see, honestly, it's on the slow side for moving from one side to the other. So now we'll go and turn it on to high. And you can see it's so much quicker. It just makes this feature more usable, and I really like that they included that. You can also slow it down if you so desire. I don't really know why you'd want to do that, but if it's too fast for you in normal mode, you can even slow it down. So yeah, like I said, it may seem like a small feature, but it's actually it makes a big difference to me. Okay, so the third and final thing I'm going to talk about that's kind of a hidden feature is recall custom shooting settings hold. So that's a long term here, but this little feature here is actually going to be a pretty big deal. So when the camera shipped, it had recall custom shooting settings, which as long as you held down a custom button, so for me, the C1 on the front of the camera here, it would change a whole bunch of settings for you. And I can actually show you all of the settings that it changes. So let's go into custom controls for shooting and FN1, recall custom shooting functions, and then you open that up. All of these settings are changed when you hold that button down. So shooting mode A, ISO sensitivity settings, stuff like that. So the application for this would be like, let's say you're a landscape photographer like me, but you see a bird or an animal or something and you want to track it and you want it to shoot in continuous release, like 20 frames a second. You could set your settings to do that on the camera. Here, I'll just demo it. Let's go release mode 10. Let's go shooting mode. Shutter priority, shutter speed 1/2000th of a second, I feel like. That's good. We'll set ISO to auto. And release mode, let's go ahead and just go all the way for 20 frames a second. Okay, we'll press menu to save it. Here's a handy quick tip here. I'll go back here. I want to show you this. Is down at the bottom here of the recall shooting functions, it says save current settings. To me, this was a bad mislabel by Nikon. To me, that seems like, oh, that's how I save the settings that I just set in this menu. And that's not what that means. That means how your camera is currently set. It will then import those settings into this menu. So it took me a while to kind of figure out that was what was going on. In order to save it, you actually press menu. Okay, so here I am. I'm in AFS right now. I have 1/60th of a second, and it's auto ISO at 1000. I press and hold down the FN1 button. So I take a picture, you can see. I press and hold down the button. Now I'm 20 frames a second, filling up my memory card, and it says 1/60th of a second, which means that I didn't get that quite right, I think. Make sure, oh yeah, I just didn't set that. So there you go. So then it changes to 1/2000th of a second. So that's kind of how I picture using this recall custom shooting settings, is when you hold the button down, it gives you some of those I need it right this second settings. And yeah, that's kind of how you would use it. You can also change your AF area mode. That's also super handy. So what they've added in firmware 2.0 that changes the game around this together is that now you can set a custom button to recall custom shooting settings, hold, and it will hold it for you. So you tap the button to change the settings instead of hold it down. To me, this opens up a lot more options for this setup, basically. So as a landscape photographer, here's how I might use this for landscape photography. So here I've changed my settings. You can see my big light over there. And I'm in kind of maybe a typical landscape setting. This is massively underexposed so that I can show you kind of what this does. So I'm in manual mode, AFS, and like right now, because I'm in manual mode, I would be kind of manually adjusting the aperture and the shutter speed, but let's say I just go ahead and set it to f8. But let's say I just want to change one little setting here and I want to bounce between the two. So an example of something that I might want to change is actually the camera mode. So let's go to custom control shooting, and I'm going to change this on the FN2 button. So recall custom shooting settings. Now let's just clear everything out here. Release mode not for 20 frames a second. All right, let's just say I just want to be able to swap between manual and aperture priority. So I click through here, go to aperture priority, set menu to save. Okay, so here I am, I'm shooting my landscape here, I'm in manual mode, and you're like, hey, I want to stop, and I'm shooting a sunset, let's say, and I want to stop having to crank down my shutter speed every couple of minutes. I just want the camera to keep track of that for me. I just tap this button, and it immediately goes into aperture priority mode, and I have all the functions of that. And then I just tap it again, and I'm back to manual mode. I can go in and out as much as I want. Okay, so I hope that kind of shows how this is such a super powerful feature now. You could have it be just one setting that you bounce between, or you could set up two almost completely different cameras and you can just bounce between them at the tap of a button. And because you don't have to hold it down anymore, I see that as really upping the applications that you would have for using this. I see using this in, like I said, in camera mode, I see in drive mode, in auto ISO, in all of these kind of features for these custom shooting settings. And because I don't have to hold the button down, it just makes it much more versatile. And I really, really like that. So now, Nikon, even though you added this new feature that I didn't know I needed and now I'm going to use all the time, if you could also expand this to where I could have multiple versions of this. And Sony has something similar to this, where I could have multiple versions where right now, there's only one recall custom shooting setup that you can have. And that applies for both the hold and just the regular version where you have to hold the button down. And that to me is a little bit annoying. I'd like to have multiple versions that I can switch between. There's a workaround with the custom settings bank thing that we can talk about some other time. Okay, so those are the three hidden features that I'm going to use all the time on the new firmware for the Nikon Z9. If you found this video helpful, we would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more camera content, photography content like this. And with that, we'll see you on the next adventure.